Five, four, three. Hi, everybody. This is Rose, and I'm here with Lisa Bloomquist of Floxy Hope. Hi. Lisa is a health activist. She created and she maintains the website Floxy Hope, which is a huge support for those suffering from fluoroquinolone toxicity or fluoroquinolone adverse effects of fluoroquinolones. Uh, Fluoroquinolone is an antibiotic that includes Cipro, Levaquin, Avelox, and Floxin, among others, but those are the main ones. Floxy Hope is a huge resource for anybody that has suffered from adverse effects from fluoroquinolones. Currently on Lisa's homepage of Floxy Hope, she has 21,000 comments. And so that just goes to show you it's like a meeting place for people going through this issue. I met Lisa after I never actually met you, but I know Lisa because I also went to the website after I was floxed in 2014, October of 2014, and I ended up doing a podcast with Lisa on Floxy Hope. That was published December. It was episode 5, published December 31st, 2014. Lisa was floxed in 2011, correct?
Yeah.
And you started the website shortly after that. So it would be great if you could just tell us a little bit about your journey, what happened, and what provoked you or sparked you to start this website.
Sure. So as you mentioned, it was back in 2011. It was November of 2011 that I got floxed. I took ciprofloxacin to treat a urinary tract infection. And about 2 weeks later, it was like a bomb went off in my body. And, I have to apologize to the people who are watching and to you, Rose. Like, so many of the details have faded a bit, because it's been a while. It's been several years. But really, it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through. It seriously felt like a bomb had gone off in my body. I went from being really fit. I was going to CrossFit. I was going to yoga. Like I had hiked the entire 500-mile Colorado Trail just like a year and a half earlier. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like I couldn't walk anymore. Like I wasn't quite bedbound, but like it hurt to walk. I had to take like little baby steps and could only wear Crocs. And, my feet hurt really badly. My hands hurt really badly. I had hives all over my body. So like that was at least like a really obvious physical manifestation. And I'm actually kind of thankful for the hives because when I went into the doctor, they couldn't say like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong. Like, well, clearly I have hives.
Yeah.
Like what in the world is going on? I had some really bizarre mental symptoms. I lost my reading comprehension for a period of time.
Yeah.
I just felt really dumb. I don't really know how to describe it, but I felt like my IQ decreased by, 20%. I had trouble doing my job. I was able to do my job well enough that I was able to keep it, but I certainly felt like I wasn't capable enough to be doing my job anymore, at least for a little while. I had autonomic nervous system problems, so I had some digestion problems. I didn't sweat for a while, which is a bizarre symptom as well. What else? I had pain in my joints. I never was diagnosed with a tendon rupture or tear or anything like that, but we know that fluoroquinolones affect the musculoskeletal systems, and I may have had some sort of micro tears or problems with my connective tissues, but those were never diagnosed, and I've largely recovered from that. It was just. Like I said, I'm really struggling to think of all of the symptoms that I had. If you go to floxyhope.com and you look at the first story under recovery stories, that's my story. It's Lisa's story. And you could see my list of symptoms that I put up about 18 months after I got floxed. And it was after I recovered and was able to really write down my recovery journey. And I wanted to give people some hope and let them know that recovery was possible. I mean, like certainly it was possible for me. And so I wanted to let other people know that that recoveries can happen. And so I put my story out there, and people responded really positively to it. And I gathered other people's stories, and then I started blogging and I started researching, and people really responded well to all of those things. And then, like you said, I've got 21,000 comments on the homepage of Foxy Hope. And so, like, that really indicates that it's a community. Like it's a community of people who have come together and who are helping each other and supporting each other. And there are some people who are regulars and commenting on the site who have large conversations and who have supported other people in going through it and who have offered advice and opinions and all of those things. And it's really wonderful. I've met this really great community of people through this. And really I've learned a huge amount. My entire perspective on pharmaceutical drugs has shifted, and it's been a journey for sure.
Can you tell me just a little bit about that, like how the shift of, because I had the same experience where that episode of being floxed, that's what it's called. When you have an adverse reaction to a fluoroquinolone, it is known as being floxed. And just think that term is going to come up a lot over the next, few minutes here. So that I want people to know that's what that means.
And it comes from the base name of these drugs. So it's ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, moxifloxacin, ofloxacin. So like they all have that FLOX in them.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's where it comes from.
Yep. So I don't know about you, but I was a poster child customer for pharmaceuticals. I thought that they were like heavily researched, basically that my body didn't work on its own and I kind of needed them. That's how I felt. I really did. And I believed doctors. I believed the hype, and I was just telling you before we started this call that I went from, AA. I started my sort of, I was an addict as a kid and I ended up in AA, and I was kind of groomed by AA saying that I had a disease, that I was sort of malfunctioned and I needed help, that, only the powers that be could give me. And so I was I feel like it was almost like I was groomed for the cult of pharmaceutical, the pharmaceutical cult. Like basically you got a problem, look at this, you were born that way, let's just give you all these drugs because you have this chemical imbalance. That's why you're an alcoholic. That's why, you have depression, it's sort of all fit, you know what I mean? So I was just like, a willing customer. I thought that that the CEOs of pharmaceutical companies were good people that wanted to help me. I really thought that. And so I'm curious about your shift. Like when you say, like, I had a shift of the pharmaceutical industry, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think something fairly similar to what you just said. Like, of course, the details are different for me because I've had a different life experiences. But certainly, I believed that any drug, the benefits would outweigh the consequences. And I believed that the consequences and the side effects were all known. And I really believed that, how they, in all the pharmaceutical advertisements, they always say, well, see your doctor if blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of imagined that they had some sort of like special antidote serum or something like that. Like if you suffered from a side effect, I didn't think that side effects could be long lasting. I didn't think that pharmaceutical drugs could cause long lasting chronic illness. Like that's not something that ever occurred to me before this happened. And now after this happened, I see it everywhere. And when people tell me that they have a chronic mysterious illness or even an illness that has a name, like even a lot of the autoimmune diseases, I'm like, what poisoned you? Let's examine what poisoned you, because something poisoned you or else your immune system wouldn't be going crazy. Right. And I certainly thought that any antibiotic was benign. Like it didn't even occur to me to read the warning label on the ciprofloxacin I took. And I thought, like, antibiotics, they've saved millions of lives. Like, of course, this is good. Like, this is practically like, vitamin C. I'm just going to pop it, and there's not going to be any sort of consequences. And it's going to uh, just make me live a happier, longer, more fulfilled life. And certainly, like, antibiotics have their place. I'm not trying to like bash antibiotics and say that like they shouldn't exist or like that we'd be better off without them. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that antibiotics have consequences that never occurred to me before this happened. Not in a million years would it have occurred to me that an antibiotic could cause me to be ill for 18-ish months.
Right.
It never would have occurred to me like that some of the stories that I've heard and that people have told that are true stories of being permanently disabled by these drugs, it wouldn't have occurred to me that that was a possibility. Like, I had no idea that I was taking on that risk when I took this drug. And I took it from minor urinary tract infection too.
Right. You said you only took like 2 or 3 pills?
No, I took 7. I took
7? Okay.
the whole 14 pill prescription bottle of ciprofloxacin, but I took it in 2 separate kind of transactions. I took it once for a minor UTI earlier, and then again for a minor UTI.
Okay. So
yeah.
that's interesting because I felt the same way. So when I realized, oh my God, I searched online side effects of Cipro because I was having these terrible symptoms, and I was mortified because one of the very first back then, this was in 2014, one of the very first links in Google that came up were Cipro is poison, don't take this drug, and somehow that made it up to the top, of the algorithm. I clicked on that and I was like, what is this? And then that sort of led me from one link to the other, which I landed on your website, and I was just shocked. Like that, and also I called the doctor and I'm like, so what are you going to do now? Like, I expected there to be, like you said, an antidote. Like I could just take another drug or something,
Right.
but not only was there no antidote, but they actually told me that I was lying. Like,
Lovely.
we don't, like, that's crazy. We don't believe you. That's not from the Cipro. That's something else, So basically I was like, no, I know what happened while I was taking this drug, So there was like a double, it was sort of this double like betrayal. So not only from the pharmaceutical industry, but even the doctors that I had put so much trust into that I really looked up to were like,
Sure.
we don't believe you. You're a liar. Basically and I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just to back up a little bit, I really encourage people to go to the site ciproispoison.com.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the site. Okay.
It's a great site. And like, he just lists off, like, this is what they don't tell you about Cipro.
Right.
Like they don't tell you that you could have permanent neuropathy. They don't tell you that you can have permanent memory loss. Like they don't tell you not to take, multiple drugs together. They don't tell you that this can cause permanent disability. Like, they conveniently fail to mention that. And like, I feel like that's a fairly important piece of information.
You think?
Call me crazy, but I feel like that's a really important piece of information. And, so many people have had experiences like yours, Rose, where like they get really insult added to injury, like pretty much literally when they go to their doctors and their doctors say, I don't believe you, or you must be crazy, or people getting dismissed from their doctor's practices, like doctors that they've known for, decades in some cases.
Yeah.
And then like suddenly their doctor like is not only not helpful, but is hostile. And that just makes me so furious for them. Like, it's not okay to treat people like that. It's really not. And, my personal experience was better. Like, basically the doctors were like, I have no idea what's going on with you. I don't think it's the Cipro, but I don't know. And I was like, oh, well, you obviously can't help me. And so I stopped seeing them.
Right.
Which was, I think, a fine decision on my part. I try not to give medical advice, and I try not to tell people like, don't go to a doctor, they're useless. But that was kind of that was my experience, was that they weren't able to help me. They were very nice about saying like, I can't help you. Unlike with some people where like people, they can just be hostile. And I think that's just such an awful, awful, awful way to treat people. I mean, like, I think like if only the doctors just said like, sometimes this happens, it's on the warning label, it's been documented, and I'm so sorry it happened to you.
Yeah, and even if they said there's nothing I can do, like you
Yeah.
just have to wait this out, I don't know, or go online, there's probably groups, something, but to
Right.
sort of to just go, oh yeah, you're crazy. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
Right, right.
whoa.
Or to say even that the Cipro can't do this.
Right.
Like, you don't know that, Mr. and Mrs. Doctor. Like, because A, have you actually researched these drugs? B, it says pretty much all of the symptoms that 90% of us are experiencing are listed on the warning label.
Right.
So, and I don't think that most doctors have any idea what's on that warning label.
No, they don't.
They have absolutely no idea, and I think it's a huge gap in their education, and really and I blame the FDA more than the doctors and more than the medical schools. Like, these warning labels have a purpose, and their purpose is supposed to be to protect, or not to protect. Their purpose is supposed to be to inform doctors so that doctors can make an informed decision. What they're actually doing is covering the asses of the pharmaceutical industry. And like, it's ridiculous, and it's wrong, and it's awful.
Oh,
but just kind of like this like blanket denial of like, oh, side effects don't happen. Like, oh, that must be rare. So they say like, oh, that must be rare. And then like, it's impossible that it happened to you. Like, rare people might be able to expect, but if it's rare, then it happens sometimes.
Right.
But maybe it's happening to me.
Right, exactly. So I was convinced for the longest time when people would mention, so I was like this big, because I was on antidepressants, and I don't know if you know people on antidepressants that kind of like are behind them. They kind of push them onto other people, like, oh, you should try this antidepressant. That was me. Okay, that was me doing that before this incident. And when people would say to me, well, I mean, have you seen all the side effects? I would explain to them how rare that is, that they have to say at least every single possible side effect, because just to sort of like, otherwise, so they have to like cover their asses for everything. But really, those side effects are really rare, but they're not. So, and we'll get on to that a little bit further, especially with the antidepressants and benzodiazepines and those classes of drugs, that the side effects are more common than not. Yeah. So, and it was like, so what I realized, and it was a big wake up call for me, were like, these side effects are not like some rare thing that I had convinced myself. I don't know where somewhere in the cultural brainwash, I kind of like picked up this story, and I just believed it. I never really, researched anything, or, you know what I mean? I never went to school. And I don't think that the doctors have the time, or, whatever, not even the time, like this headspace to know all the side effects of every drug. I mean, It's like overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just human.
Right.
And I know, like, for people watching, like, I know that we're noting that these doctors were not particularly great in how they responded. But I mean, like I think we can acknowledge that doctors are just human. But you know what? Like, a human response is to acknowledge people's pain. And also, like, patients would probably be understanding if doctors just showed some humility about these things. If more doctors showed humility about these things,
Absolutely. I want to like my doctor.
Right. Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to like him. I want to respect him, and I want him to validate me. I do. That's what, when you go to the doctor, that's kind of what you're looking for. And if you're going to see any sort of health professional or any professional, period, you're paying your money, you kind of want that. So, I mean, I think, but for whatever reason, doctors, they think if they admit something they were wrong, then that means, I don't know what it means for them, that we can sue them. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fear of lawsuits or if it's just like, precious little egos and like needing
Right.
to maintain that like they're the smartest person in the room, and,
Right.
just kind of talking about how it's rare, people say like that, these side effects are rare. For fluoroquinolones, the research shows that they really have no idea. They don't know if it's 1% or 20%.
Right.
Like that's a huge spread. And by the way, 1% is actually a huge number of people. Like if
Oh,
1% of the people who are taking fluoroquinolones are having serious and severe and disabling side effects, like that's just a massive and unacceptable number of people
well,
to
it's
be.
1 in a
It's just
hundred.
the severity of it. And so risk is kind of a function of severity of side effects and frequency of side effects, right?
Mhm.
So, given the severity of the side effects of these drugs, of fluoroquinolone antibiotics, the frequency needs to be pretty darn close to zero for it to be worth it in cases where the infection is non-life threatening. Like if someone's got a life-threatening infection,
Right.
like it's either like take levofloxacin or die, like that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. Like, do you risk having long-term disability to avoid death? Like it's a decision that needs to be made by an individual who happens to be in that situation. But like I said, I had an uncomplicated urinary tract infection that uncomplicated, unconfirmed urinary tract infection, and
I know.
it should not. I should not have had ciprofloxacin to
Right.
treat that.
Right. It changed your life. I mean, everything about your life, the whole path of your life changed, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
it occupied like the majority of my mid-30s.
Right. And now, I mean, now you maintain this website. You're in this community. You become a health activist pretty much all around, not just, relating to fluoroquinolones, but with other, on other topics as well. I
I
know
mean,
you,
I see the damage now.
right.
I don't think I would have seen it before. I wouldn't have connected iatrogenic illness. I wouldn't have connected pharmaceuticals to these chronic illnesses that are, modern day mysteries or, like illnesses of modernity that we've never seen as humans at these rates that we're seeing now. I mean, I think it's because people are poisoned, and I
I
see it.
agree.
And I acknowledge when people have adverse reactions to drugs. You mentioned benzos. Benzodiazepine withdrawal is hell.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
absolute hell. Like a kind of friend of mine, like recently lost her life because of benzos. Like
Oh,
benzos.
believe me, I know about benzos. So let me just tell you a little bit about what happened after that podcast. So I did that podcast with you, and it was either before or after you had said, I told you that I had been on antidepressants for a long time. I had actually been on antidepressants for 25 years. I had, depression. Like I was not functioning. I was not like I was not thriving at all because of this mental, illness I had because of this depression. And so I spent most of my time suicidal, which I covered up because you don't want anyone to know that about yourself. And you had said, maybe you should check out this book, Anatomy of an Epidemic by Robert Whitaker. And you explained a little bit what it was about. And I had a lot of respect for you. I wrote the book down, I ordered it. And halfway through that book, I mean, my mouth was dropped open to the floor. I was like ready to hear what he had to say in that book because of this injury that I was experiencing from the Cipro that I took. And so I was open. I was like an open, ready. I was ready for whatever it was. And I was like, not only is this Cipro just almost killed me, these drugs that I've been taking for 25 years are, God only knows what they're doing to me. No wonder I have felt like shit for so long. So I started tapering in the middle of the book, and I did a rapid taper and went off of like a few drugs very quickly, which I never suggest anybody to do. But that my life changed. And I have to say, just taking the Cipro changed the course of my life for the better. And I that probably doesn't happen for a lot of people, because it made me take control of my health in every single way. And I realized as long as I act like a victim, I'm a victim. I am not going to be a victim of this shit anymore. I am not going to put another one of these drugs into my mouth or poison myself at all. It's like the victimhood is over. And I was just like, so it was the beginning of me taking control of my life and completely changing my life into what it is today. And it was a very long journey for me, because I went off of some pretty, I was on a high dose of antidepressants, and I was also on a benzodiazepine. So, not even 6 months after I got floxed, I decided to stop my benzo cold turkey and went through this horrendous withdrawal, and I think because I was already sick, from the fluoroquinolone. And I was just, I can't even explain to you. I can't believe that I got through that. I really can't. And how anybody gets through it. And here's the thing. What if I never knew that drug affected me the way it did? What if I never knew that the Cipro did that to me? Like, what if I just thought oh, I'm getting sicker?
Yeah, and I think there are millions of people who are in that situation, at least thousands of people who are in that situation, where
I think
they're sick
millions.
and they have no idea why, and they keep on going to the doctor, and the doctor keeps on throwing shit at a wall, see what'll stick. Gives them antidepressants, gives them benzos, because anxiety is actually a huge symptom.
Oh, huge! I went into
awful.
I went into a mental spiral of I can't even explain it to you. I think I said it in the podcast. It was the fastest spiral into a mental illness that I have ever experienced, where something that usually would take months was taking hours. That's how fast I was spiraling mentally. I was going, It was like I had psychosis all of a sudden.
Right. And psychosis, fluoroquinolones can bring on psychosis.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Anxiety, psychosis, mental illness that falls into categories of things like depression and bipolar illness, and people have committed suicide. And it's awful. It's just awful. But yeah, I'm super proud of you for how far you've come, and just everything that you've done. It's just amazing that you had the patience and the will to go through what you've gone through, and that you just had, I guess, the faith. I don't know what word.
It was like a blind faith. I was so injured, and I was there's just no way I'm letting them have the rest of me. I'm going to salvage whatever I have. And whoever them was, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was just in my mind, I needed that sort of fire, under me to kind of keep me going, because it was so incredibly painful what I was going through. I have to say though, Lisa, I truly 100% credit you. I feel like you saved my life. I really do. And I don't think you know that, but it's I really feel that. I'm oh my God, she saved my life. You saved my life. You did. You really did.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much.
It's crazy. And when people and it was, you're welcome. You deserve it. You're a superstar to me. You know what I mean?
You're amazing as well. I just planted that little seed, just, it's a powerful book. We could both credit Robert Whitaker,
Yeah.
It's a powerful and impactful and just mind shifting, amazing book. And, for me to just plant that seed in you,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it transformed your life. And like, I mean, you're obviously like such like a vivacious and amazing woman. So,
Thank
you know,
you.
and working on inspiring people and having this YouTube channel, and, you know, we're going live and all just everything that you're doing. You know, I watch you on Facebook. I'm not a total stalker, but like, I mean, I see what you're doing and I think it's incredible.
Yeah. So like I ended up getting off all those drugs, going through that really painful experience, changing my life. And then I teamed up with Kelly Brogan, who's a holistic psychiatrist, and started doing coaching for her under her, practice. So doing just coaching people through the process of withdrawal because it's so incredibly painful. And you need someone, you really do. You need somebody to like help you through this. And I'm sure you get tons and tons of people reaching out to you. Your specialty is this, this fluoroquinolone toxicity. And I
Yeah.
know that a lot of people reach out to you. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like how that has you know, changed you, or what's that done for you, like just being this sort of like this, you're like a you're like this glimmer of hope. Really.
Like I so appreciate that. And like, just, it's so nice to hear. Like, it's really heartwarming, you know? I mean, I think I started the website just going like, I need to make something good of this. And like, I need to give people some hope, because like the things that I was seeing out there on the internet, like they were just so, people had no hope. Like they just,
Right.
there was no good news, and it was just so easy to spiral given the information on the internet. And I was like, people need to know that it's possible to have some sort of healing. And I wanted to help people. I don't know if I wanted to inspire people. Like, I mean, I feel a little like self-conscious with that. Like that,
Yeah.
I'm just me. Like, I'm just living my life. And to hear that, I'm an inspiration to people, I'm always like, okay, I mean, I'm pretty boring, but all right. Like, um, but when people tell me that like they've been able to access information and realize that they're not crazy, and like that they've been able to find community, and that they've been able to get like the resources to understand what's going on in their body, and that they've been able to get hope. I mean, that's why I did the website. Like, that's why it's called Floxy Hope, is because I wanted to give people hope in getting through this horrible, horrible journey. And, hundreds, probably thousands of people have reached out to me and said, like, thank you. And like every single email that I get from people saying that, like, it really warms my heart. And it takes a lot of people, though. Like, there are a lot of people in this community that are helping each other and supporting each other, and they deserve a whole lot of credit and a whole lot of thanks too. So
Oh yeah.
kind of like share the credit a little bit.
I know. I mean, I don't know if people, like a few people have found me through your website. I'm not sure if they found me through the podcast or a comment that I made on, somebody else's story or whatever, but they've reached out to me as well. Somehow it's like, I heard, you were floxed, are you healed? That's the biggest question, and I have to say, yes, I am healed. So one of the biggest things, though, that for those people out there that I try to tell is, I think that, let's talk a little bit about like what you can do to heal. And I think one of the biggest things that I needed to do was heal my central nervous system, because the more anxious I got about any of my symptoms, the worse like I got. It was almost like this loop, so the more anxious I got about a symptom, whether it was the neuropathy, or because I had neuropathy for 3 years. I mean, I couldn't walk, without shoes, like moon boots, basically. Would wear all the time because my feet were so sensitive, from my knees down. It started all over, but it ended up from my knees down, where it was just so incredibly painful. But so if I would think about that, though, too much, like, oh my God, this isn't going to heal, it would start my central nervous system would just go haywire, and I would just become a wreck. I mean, like, just have a major setback, everything. And I always say, like, the most important thing that you need to work on, forget about the symptoms, whatever they are, work on your central nervous system. Like, you need to constantly be telling yourself, sending yourself signals of safety. It's okay. You're going to be all right. Whatever that takes, like breathing exercises, looking at flowers, looking your kid in the eyes and, seeing that innocent, petting your dog, whatever it is, whatever that thing is, meditating if you can. It's really hard to meditate when you're floxed. But you did breathing exercises, right? But how important do you think this idea of healing the central nervous system is in relation to being floxed?
Oh, I think that that's huge. Like I think that everything that you just said is just the perfect advice for an initial step for anyone who's floxed.
Right.
Just like get your anxiety under control, find something positive in your life. Like, this is not caused by anxiety. Like,
Right.
no matter what your doctor who's never heard of fluoroquinolone toxicity says, like, this is not just like an anxiety reaction.
No, here's right.
But fluoroquinolone toxicity, the anxiety can just spiral, and anxiety makes everything worse. So any sort of inputs in your life that are causing anxiety, get away from them.
Right.
Actually, one of the biggest things for my healing was getting off the internet.
Yeah.
And I realized that, like, I've done all of my advocacy through the internet, and that I mean, I'm obviously using it as a tool now, but I really think that that's one of the biggest things that people can do for themselves, is just get away from those inputs. And I loved what you just said about safety. Like, get those safety inputs going, and get away from the get away from the danger inputs.
Right.
And so much of what is on the internet is danger inputs.
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to get away from those.
Yeah.
And, meditation helped me immensely. Breathing exercises helped me immensely. I took a class called mindfulness-based meditation. No, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it was based off of the teachings of John Kabat-Zinn. And like, it was actually offered through my health insurer at the time. It was Kaiser Permanente is who offered it. So any of you who have Kaiser, like, see if they still offer it. And that class was huge for me. Acupuncture, my acupuncturist, I credit him with saving my life. And really, people sometimes ask me, like, well, what did your acupuncturist do? And, like, I think that they want me to be like, well, he put a needle here and here and it cured me. And, like, that's not really how it's not how acupuncture works, period. And it's certainly not how it worked for me. But I think that the whatever the needles were doing, like, I can't describe, because that's just not my area of expertise. But just being still and calm for, like, the half an hour that I was getting the acupuncture, like, that was helpful. If nothing else, that was incredibly helpful. Just finding things that made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And focusing on, like, little tiny good things, and putting one foot in front of the other. And, like, I know that that's a trite thing to say, but, like, that was incredibly helpful, was just focusing on the good. That was the first step. And yeah, I absolutely think that's number one. And like you said, it's tied into your central nervous system. If your central nervous system is just saying, like, fire, 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 run, 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 like, you're just going to go into these horrible cycles.
Oh,
And
you become in fight or flight constantly.
Yeah, you can't
heal.
fight or flight constantly. Like, you need to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So, so many of us just get stuck in this sympathetic nervous system mode of just, fight or flight.
Yeah.
And fluoroquinolones do that to people. And whatever you can do to knock yourself out of that.
Right.
If that's going on a meditation retreat, go on a meditation retreat. If that's playing with your niece and nephew, play with your niece and nephew. If that's taking a break from Facebook, take a break from Facebook. Like, there are all these, For each individual, it's different. Like what brings them joy and happiness and
Right.
healing in their life is going to be different from individual to individual. Pet your cat,
Right.
like,
Yeah. A lot of it too. So what I was going through was so mental because like I said, I stopped those other drugs, like in the midst of this. So
yeah,
a lot of times I was like, I don't like, I feel like I don't feel any happiness or any connection or joy to this activity, but I think I'm supposed to, so I'm going to do it. Like it was almost like I had somehow, well, meditation's supposed to make me feel calm, so I'm just going to do it because it was, so it's like I didn't feel the initial results like as I was doing it, but it was like over time I felt it. So I think, but that happens a lot for people go in pain, like in these crises, this crisis, that they don't actually feel like, it's not like, oh, I started doing this thing and I felt so good, and it's like you almost have to sort of like just do it anyway, even though
it's
it doesn't feel good.
right, right. It's not immediate. It's a practice.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
why they call it a meditation practice.
Right.
It's not something that's just going to heal you. And certainly like shifting your mind and calming your central nervous system and focusing on things that are positive in your
Mhm.
life, like of course that's helpful. Like I think that it takes a long time, and I think that there's more to it too. There are other
Yeah.
things involved as well, but I do think that that's a first step, is just do what you need to do to get that anxiety under control. Because if you don't get the anxiety under control, then you're just going to spiral, and it's going to make
Right.
everything worse.
And a lot of people contact me and I could tell they're in that spiral state.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, that's when they start reaching out to people. They're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like this sort of panic. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do. Like you have to calm your central nervous system. I mean, and it's really hard to tell someone that when they're already there, already in that fight or flight. So you have to sort of like prepare yourself when you're not in that fight or flight. It's almost like insurance. You're like you're
Yeah.
dropping pennies into your insurance policy every time. Every 5-minute meditation you do is another penny in your insurance policy.
There you go.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
true. It really is. It's like you're not going to have the immediate effect until you get into an accident, and that's when you start slipping out of control. You can like catch yourself, and that's what it's about. And speaking of that, so let's jump to this next subject, which, okay, so a lot of people that I talk to as well, they're like, I started taking a benzodiazepine and things got worse.
Like after they got
Yeah,
blocked.
because of the
Yeah.
anxiety.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, like benzodiazepines can have a paradoxical effect.
yeah,
Like they can make things worse,
yeah,
and that can be. I have super mixed feelings about benzos, to be honest with you. I mean, if people are choosing between jumping off a bridge
right.
or taking a benzo, then like, by all means, like you got to do what you got to do to keep yourself alive. But don't but they're only meant for short-term use. And I think it's criminal that they're being prescribed over years and years and years, and to treat,
Right.
chronic anxiety and chronic depression and chronic insomnia. I think that that's criminal. It messes up people's GABA receptors.
Right.
It makes it so that you, at least for a long time, if not permanently, can't produce a GABA correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's criminal. And I mean, GABA is one of the calming neurotransmitters. And we need our bodies to be able to create these neurotransmitters, and the drugs, rather than fixing something that's broken, are actually breaking it,
I know.
breaking these systems. So um, I would not touch a benzo. I mean, I'll steer clear from them. It breaks my heart when I hear of people who are treating their fluoroquinolone toxicity with benzodiazepines, because I think that they're just kind of kicking the can down the road, actually.
Right.
Like eventually you have to get off of the benzos.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the symptoms of the fluoroquinolone toxicity are going to come right back.
Yep.
So um, yeah, if you got to use it for a week to keep you alive, by all means, keep yourself alive. Do whatever you need to do to stay alive.
Right.
But there's that big but. Just know that these drugs have horrible consequences.
Right. The benzo is like you're saying, life or death. It's like, I need to get through this, otherwise I truly am going to kill myself. Not like, I think, and I think when you're reached your limit. I mean, I believe that we as humans were far more resilient and strong than we've been brought up to believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we can handle a lot more, and I mean, I think that in today's world, we're sort of like, oh my God, you're having an anxiety attack. You need to be on, some kind of drug, or something's wrong or whatever, like all fire alarms. But I really truly believe that we can handle a lot more than what, is sold to us. Like, we're humans. We've been like trudging this, landscape of the earth for million, I don't know, over how long? Like, it's got to be at least 1,000,000 years, right? I don't know if it's that.
Something like that.
800,000 or whatever it is. But I mean, how did we get by all those years up until 100 years ago without these drugs? Come on, you know what I mean? Like, they just came out. How did we get here if we didn't?
Right. We have not yet evolved to just be dependent on them, and to be at least not from an evolutionary perspective. Yeah. And these drugs, they just have consequences. And people are largely unaware of these consequences. And they're so unaware of the connections between these drugs and chronic illness. And like benzos too. Benzodiazepines can cause people to be chronically ill. They can cause everything to go wrong.
Yep.
Everything. Like
everything.
Like if I can't list the symptoms of benzodiazepine, either withdrawal or like the paradoxical effects.
We don't have time. I mean, we would just be going on and on forever about the symptoms. Right. The symptoms are lengthy and severe. It's like It could be, and it can masquerade the symptoms of just even the side effects of benzodiazepine and antidepressants can masquerade as a autoimmune disease, as pain syndrome, as all kinds of stuff. And it's like usually long-term benzo use like breaks everything down. You become like sensitive and pain. Your GABA receptors are completely fried, just fried,
Yeah.
And you're like,
you can't sleep, you can't eat, you
right.
can't move.
Yeah.
You can't socialize. Like just everything just breaks down.
Right. So
the stories I've heard from people are just awful.
Oh, terrible.
And I believe them. I believe every single one of them.
Because they're true. It really is true. And what we really need is to sort of like distance ourselves and, safely from these drugs and give our bodies time to heal. And sometimes it takes a long time. It takes a long time to heal from fluoroquinolone toxicity and benzo withdrawal and antidepressant injury and, what are they called? The neuroleptics.
Psychotropic?
No, any psychotropic drug, I guess, including the ones for schizophrenia and bipolar, lithium, and the ones for psychosis that are prescribed for that, which it actually causes brain injury, and it takes time. And I think that, we live in a world where everything needs to be fixed very quickly. Otherwise, it's just, we can't do it. We have families, we got to get back to our life and this and that. It's like, but this is your life, and it's like your life right now is healing from this injury. That's your life. And then you can move on to, greener pastures. But right now you need to take the time out and heal, because that's the most important thing. And that's that's how you're going to be. The only way out is through. That's it.
Right. And it's so hard,
Yeah.
Like I'll acknowledge, like it's really, really, really hard. To just go like, okay, I'm going to keep on walking in this tunnel. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to turn around. I'm not going to, do anything rash.
Right.
I'm just gonna take it one day at a time, and every day is awful,
Yeah.
but but I'm hopeful that eventually I'll get to some good days.
Yeah. And what you
And
said,
it's hard to
day
have
is
that hope.
every day is awful. It really is. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it can be being on, having these injuries, having the fluoroquinolone toxicity, or in the case of me, having that, and then on top of, getting off a bunch of psychiatric drugs. Every day was awful for a real long time. And I was just like, I just got to keep going. I got to keep going, and it's like, blind faith, find one thing, I don't know, a flower or something that keeps you going every single day. I mean, it's just, you really have to pull like, from the depths of your soul, the the will to do it. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's really hard. And
it is.
anybody going through it, I totally congratulate. You are a warrior. I gotta say, you're a warrior. You're getting through this, and it's greener pastures are gonna come. As you can see, both Lisa and I are pretty much, recovered.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fully recovered. Yeah, like I just biked home from work, and yeah, like I mean, I certainly couldn't have done that during the depths of my fluoroquinolone toxicity, and um, now I can. I mean,
Right.
biked both ways, took a walk in the middle.
Yep.
I'm able to do those things now, and I'm able to live like a really normal life, and I'm really thankful. And like some other things in addition to, I like how you put it, healing your central nervous
Mhm.
system. Like I love how you put it that way, rather than like just, you know calm the f down.
Right.
Like, cause like there's so much more to it than that. And like healing the central nervous system, even if even if the actions are the same as, calm the f down, like it really is. We're talking about a central nervous system injury for like both fluoroquinolones and for benzo withdrawal, and for like the antidepressants.
Right.
Is like we're talking about a central nervous system injury. We're talking about autonomic nervous system injuries, and that's how we should frame it. And the ways to heal those are, for better or for worse, like taking the time and reducing your anxiety and finding happiness, finding connections, and
Yeah.
time. But there's also some nutritional things that help a lot.
Oh yeah.
Um, Whether you're getting those nutritional things from food or from supplements, or from a combination of food and supplements. I know that some diets, specifically the Walls protocol,
Yeah.
has helped a lot of people. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, just check out the book. It's called The Walls Protocol. And it's by Dr. Terry Walls. And many of her MS symptoms are in remission because she changed her diet drastically.
Yeah.
And it's and everything about it is in her book. Um, then there's also, magnesium.
Yeah.
Magnesium helps people so much, and like it's a cofactor for, hundreds of enzymatic reactions. Our neurotransmitters need magnesium in order to function correctly. So, people have been helped by magnesium immensely, like whether it be taking pills of magnesium or spray. Doing transdermal magnesium has helped a lot of people. Iron helped me a lot. I know that just be cautious with iron. It's not for everyone. Like I'm a menstruating woman, and so I figured I was safe with it. I've gotten my iron levels checked since, and I don't have too much. So, but B vitamin levels, making sure that you don't have too much or too little of many B vitamins.
Mhm.
Those are vital for mitochondrial health. There are many mitochondrial supplements. Fluoroquinolones damage mitochondria. They deplete mitochondrial DNA. And mitochondria are the parts of our cells that are creating energy in our cells. They're creating ATP in our cells. So when our mitochondria are not functioning properly, our cells lose energy.
Right.
Our cells lose energy, and all sorts of illness results when you're mitochondria aren't working properly. So there are several supplements that can help with mitochondria. There's coenzyme Q10. There's MitoQ been reported to help many people. ALA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what some of
I took ALA. I think NAC is a precursor to glutathione.
NAC, glutathione. Yep,
Right.
glutathione is considered to be like the master antioxidant.
Right.
There are some people who have done well getting glutathione injections.
Yep.
It's hard to get glutathione from pills, but people have done well with injections. Some people, I need to warn you though, have done really horribly with the glutathione injections and have felt worse after getting them. So, just know that it's not necessarily like, a magical cure for any of this. Different people's bodies respond differently, and you just should know that. Anyone who's watching this. And so those types of supplements, changing your diet, making sure that you get enough nutrients from your diet. A lot of the mitochondrial nutrients that we're missing are in things like organ meats.
Right.
And how many people eat organ meats very often? Not very many. Like, certainly you do. Yeah, good for you.
I did when I was, really ill. I haven't in a while, but yes, I did. I was like, I did everything. I was like, I have to do this.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cutting out processed foods, like those empty calories that just kind of overload our mitochondria with too much energy, but none of it high quality energy.
Right.
And it's kind of like flooding an engine. It ends up doing more harm than good.
Yep.
Yeah. So
also, all these things that you're mentioning, again, like changing your diet and doing these good things for yourself, they send your body, your subconscious signals of safety, which calm your central nervous system. Because when you're doing good things for yourself, like when you're self-care, when you're self-caring, you get these subliminal messages into your subconscious that you're taking care of yourself. And again, it's calming your central nervous system. So, but when you're like stuffing your face with, stuff that is bad for you, it sends, you're just lighting that fight or flight on fire. It's like, oh yeah, we're stressed out. We just ate all this crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's like, so even the diet changes also, heal you in ways that you didn't even know possible. They heal your central nervous system. You're doing this act of kindness toward yourself. You're treating yourself like you're special, like you're the sick person that you are. And, that's what we do when somebody's sick, we take care of them.
Right.
Yeah. So why not extend that to ourselves? For some reason, we think when we're sick, especially like, oh, I don't deserve that, or I got to act like I'm, all well and good and, nothing's wrong. But I mean, I think it's, like you're doing a disservice to yourself to sort of be in denial or to be, eating like shit or pretending like something's not as bad as it is.
Yeah. And I think being kind to yourself through this journey is huge. Being kind to yourself, being patient with yourself. Yeah. And, it's just necessary. Like, you have to. And I feel like there's a certain amount of, so much of what we're suggesting, like, a lot of people don't want to hear it. Like, a lot of people want to hear like, oh, there are like these two, you take this combination of these two pills and then like suddenly you get better. And like, I wish it was like that. But unfortunately, like, we just, if there is a pill to cure fluoroquinolone toxicity, we don't know it. But, there's wonderful advice in all of the recovery stories on Floxy Hope.
Yes, and there is.
Yeah. And in all the podcasts and, everything that you've said, Rose, has like so much wisdom in it. It's just been so, like, you've been through it. Yeah. You've been through these multiple drug toxicities, and you're through it. Like, so how long have you been feeling well now?
So I was floxed in October of 2014, and that sort of like And then I discontinued all my medication in March of 2015. And I have to tell you, like my nerve pain just cleared up like 1 year and a few months ago. So just over a year ago. So it was like pretty much a little over 3 years of that. But like, I mean, a lot of other parts of me healed. Do you know what I mean? But there were still lingering things going on for about 3 years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
been,
it takes a long time for the central nervous system to heal. It
yeah,
takes a long time for the autonomic nervous system to heal. And like we just, it takes no time whatsoever to take these poison pills. And
right.
I wish
Oh,
that it was just as fast to heal, but it's not. It's
yeah.
not. And, try and have patience with yourself, folks who are
Yeah. And then
watching and
top,
listening.
top it off, after all that healing, I had to rebuild my life because I was like completely disabled from being on medication for so long and being a psychiatric patient. So, I mean, so since then, I've also had to rebuild my life and figure out why I went on all those drugs in the first place. So I had to like do all that over again because while you're on these drugs, you don't have access to the parts of yourself that healing. Like when I mean, basically, I went to therapy for years for no reason. I was just talking, nothing was happening. I didn't heal because I was on these drugs. I had no access to the parts of me that could process this pain or whatever it was, the reason why I went on the drugs in the first place, or my addiction problems or whatever. I had no access. It's like you take those drugs and you have no access to those parts of yourself. So I had to go in and do all that work. Thank God, it's been swift and easy. And, actually I welcome it. I'm like, bring it on. I'm ready to take this on, whatever it is. Cause I want to get on with my life. I feel like I'm finally at a place where I can, thrive, like
Yeah.
truly thrive, without these sort of like this baggage of all this stuff that I sort of was carrying around for so many years, the mental illness, the depression, the trauma, all that stuff. It's like I'm just working through it like you wouldn't believe. It's like
Good for you.
yeah, I know, it's crazy. So it's like a snowball, going down a hill. It's like I just started picking up momentum over the past year, and I'm like, whoa, life is really changing for the better. I mean, huge leaps and bounds.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's awesome. It really is.
I'm really, really proud of you and really happy for you.
Thanks. And I swear, I attribute it to you. You started this crazy journey that you really did. And I'm like,
I just planted the seed. You did all the hard work.
yeah, I know.
All
But
the hard
even
work.
so, it was like, coincidental or, serendipity, whatever you want to call it. It's like, oh my God. I mean, my life just changed, just completely changed. I really, again, I can't thank you enough. We've been talking for an hour though, so we better go. So,
Yeah, we should wrap
yeah,
up.
let's wrap it
Yeah.
up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really, I can't thank you enough, Lisa. It's like, I truly, you were like, you know, the internet angel that just swooped down into my life. You know what I mean? It's like just this out of the blue. I'm like looking at this website. You know what I mean? Like I take this pill somewhere in Brooklyn, and all of a sudden, I'm connected with you. It's just, it's just like a miracle.
It's an honor.
Really is.
Yeah.
It is.
And just it's an honor to be connected with you. And I mean, I'm so sorry that we had to be connected in such a
Yeah.
horrible reason, but I'm glad this has come out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, the work that you've done, I'm sure it's touched, like you said, you get emails all the time, but I mean, it's incredible. It really is what you're doing. It's like just incredible. I mean, the fact 20,000 comments on your homepage. It's like, whoa, what is happening here? These people are connecting, and they're being validated, and they're healing.
Community. It's a community
Yeah.
of people who are helping and healing each other. And that's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate. I'm sure you're appreciated a lot. You really are appreciated. Everything you do is so appreciated. I I look up to you so much, and I'm so grateful that you took the time out today to talk to me. I really am.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for your patience with me while I was being a little flaky.
Oh, that's fine. You weren't. You were fine. So you can contact Lisa at floxyhope.com.
Yep,
Or
there's a contact link.
and you also have a Facebook page for the website, Floxy Hope.
I do.
Yeah. Is there any other way to contact you?
Those are the main ways. I am looking for stories if people want to contribute either their story of recovery for floxyhope.com, or if you're not recovered and you want to still get out the word about the pain and suffering that these drugs cause. I run another website. It's called fqwallofpain.com. And that's where people can share stories of pain caused by fluoroquinolones without recovery or
Yeah.
future recovery. They don't have to be recovered yet to share their story on that. And both of those can be emailed to me. I'm at floxyhope@gmail.com. But you could also just go through the contact link and that will send you to me. At floxyhope@gmail.com.
And so, I totally owe you a story.
That'd be wonderful. I would love to put up your recovery story. It's been a long journey.
I know.
Yeah, and I'm planning on putting this up on Floxy Hope too. I hope that that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, totally. 100%. So it'll be optimized in like an hour or something.
We'll figure it out.
All right. So thanks everybody for watching. There's a few people watching. Say hi and thank you so much.
Hi. Yay! Thank you for watching.
And thank you, Lisa. And stay on. I'm gonna finish this up. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.